If you missed out on our Kickstarter to help fund my first feature-length documentary, In Search of the Last Action Heroes, don't worry, all our fantastic and exclusive rewards are now available on Indiegogo in demand. You can find a link below. A film poster is one of the best-selling tools to get an audience to part with their cash to watch the latest movie. It's just as vital as a trailer. Film posters are the easiest way to inform an audience of what a film is about, and it can be a tough challenge in some cases to make sure the poster perfectly represents what the film is. In many cases, the poster is often so simple you have no clue what it's trying to sell. Or sometimes the total opposite, where the poster ends up making the movie look far better than the finished product. Film posters have changed a lot over the decades. Nowadays they are generally a Photoshop montage and handled by a committee with no single artist in control with one true vision. Modern posters lack the fine art that many of us grew up seeing pinned up in the cinema foyers or splashed across the latest VHS releases. Now, not all modern movie posters are a total write-off. We do have the odd film poster that reflects the style of the 80s, such as Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, or some special IMAX posters for films such as Kong Skull Island. But often most new posters are not ones I would want to have on display. They are forgettable and bland for the most part, and seem all too similar. Over the past few years, many artists have been trying to capture the style of classic posters. There is now a huge market for these new posters based on classic movies and contemporary ones. Now, in conjunction with AlternativeMoviePosters.com, I have chosen my favourite top 10 posters based on movies from the 80s and 90s. All these posters are superb, and it was very tough to decide what would be number 1. In my mind, they are all great. So let's kick it off with number 10. This new poster by artist Michael Gambriel visually echoes the simplicity of the original theatrical poster, featuring much of the same imagery and casting Tom Cruise and Kelly McGillis as the central characters, their relationship evident by how they stand together. This reimagining makes use of the warm, complementary neon colouring that is characteristic of many synthwave cover albums, such as FM84's latest release, and the change in font is very typical of this new style. The illustrated drawing of the two characters reminds me of a-ha's famous Take On Me music video. The poster is clean and bold. I can imagine it standing out well in a dark cinema lobby. It's retro and nostalgic, but not over the top. It could easily be of its time. Matt Ryan Tobin's new poster makes a great alternative to the original theatrical poster, which is a firm favourite of mine, with its great level of detail and striking colours. It's actually up on my wall. Knowing the original poster does everything right, this new incarnation develops this visual best-of and gives us more favourite elements from the film, characters from the movie, and includes a great cinema marquee with Jack Slater 4 now playing, and the credits of the production. It may not be as photorealistic with its depiction of Arnold, but it maintains his sly grin, and we still can recognise the character's traits in these renderings. It's a great B-side, you could say, to the original version. This new design by Anthony Petrie is a complete contrast to the original poster, feeling more like a comic book cover with its limited palette and stylised hatched sketchings around the face. It feels high-tech with its design. The artist has used the same two contrasting colours and opposing linear and curvilinear lines to depict both the circuitry elements and blood vessels to represent the dual nature of Robocop, both man and machine. The original poster for Robo is so iconic, it's very difficult to even outdo it. It's simple but striking, depicting the core story of the film, but this new version brings a darker direction, whilst allowing you to get under the skin of its central character. It shows the duality of the film, even hiding the baddies and OCP in the title. Tomo Haneka's approach for First Blood Part 2 is another simple but effective primary colour scheme. These subtle green tones are offset by the sharp flashes of red, signposting what we should be paying attention to, and tells us perfectly what the film is about. All we need to know is that Rambo is in the jungle and armed with a bow and arrow. The drawing of the rocks and waterfall has an oriental quality, perhaps calling back to Rambo's history as a Vietnam War veteran. This piece far surpasses the original poster, which was just a single photo of Rambo holding a rocket launcher with a big explosion behind him. Not very interesting, especially when you compare it to First Blood, which is an amazing piece of art. Like Robocop, Predator is a popular choice with artists to create new interpretations. The website had a number of Predator posters, but this one really stood out to me. Its fine detailing and almost monochrome colour palette make it striking and visually intriguing. It performs from a distance and in close attention to detail. The Predator isn't entirely visible, and he doesn't stand out at first glance, echoing the character's traits, but when you take a closer look you can see the monster in detail. It perfectly captures the final moment of Arnold as he runs away from the Predator before it explodes, and the looming Predator easily conveys who we should be rooting for. Japanese posters are always the ones collectors flock to when picking up old posters, and the artist Chris Collar is clearly a fan of the language. The use of the Predator's language is also a nice addition, making it seem otherworldly. It's a great alternative to the original poster. It shows off that it's more than just an action film. The original poster for Aliens was simple but effective in selling what the film was about, Ripley holding a big-ass gun saving Newt from the aliens. When it came to adult movies, they often used specifically designed marketing photos to advertise the film, instead of commissioning artists to paint an image. Artist Richard Davis takes advantage of this and provides a striking visual ensemble of the characters and themes of the film. Its painterly quality and dramatic contrasting colours perfectly displays the sense of menace and threat, and Ripley's power is undeniable in her stance. Rather than posed photos, we could be seeing imagery lifted straight from the film. The dramatic lighting on Ripley's face reminds us of the dark and dramatic lighting of the first film. This strikes to what fans love of the old posters in creating a refreshing look for Aliens, calling to its action themes rather than horror. Predator, Terminator, Robocop and Aliens are all very popular when it comes to alternative posters. They each have a huge fan base which crosses over, and if you know a Robocop fan, you can guarantee they are fans of the Terminator. Christopher Cox takes a very interesting approach by rendering images within images, creating an illusion of depth and incredible detail. Using the side of the Terminator's head, like many modern posters do, it reminds me of the 1996 Mission Impossible poster. This blending of modern and retro artistic themes shows exactly what movie posters could be today. Artist Killian Eng goes in a radically different direction to the original poster to Starship Troopers. This new image feels like a beautiful cover to a 70s sci-fi novel. This is an unusually detailed poster for a film. You really have to get close to appreciate the detail and understand the themes. Its geometric framing is reminiscent of Russian propaganda imagery and advertising, perhaps in keeping with the war themes of the film. Another restricted contrasting palette adds to this. The original poster for the John Carpenter 1981 classic is a work of art, and artist Gabbs keeps the style familiar, retaining the key imagery but giving it a refreshed look. Pliskin is brought front and centre, pushing the statue into the background so we know who our hero is. The destruction and degradation of New York is much more evident in this poster, emphasising the urgency of Pliskin's escape, but Old Lady Liberty remains proud. The reduced colour palette hides incredible detail, even that cheesy tagline, and there's a lot to see the closer you look. At number 1 we have some more Terminator. T2 had a very simple poster of Arnold sitting on a motorbike armed with a shotgun. And whilst there was an alternative poster featuring the T-1000, Sarah and John Connor, it was nothing too over the top, and surprisingly doesn't show you much about the film. It's relying on Arnold and the title to win you over, which I'm not denying it could. Artist Roy Bourgeau provides 2 posters with a similar layout, but he uses this to demonstrate the story arc of the film. We see how the characters develop from the start to the end, Arnie's deterioration, Sarah Connor's growth and the T-1000's demise. The only static character is John Connor, lost amongst the chaos. Both posters capture these key moments in the movie to really tell the story, one with the metallic cold blues and the other the warm reds of the steel mill. Terminator posters have never been this elaborate, which is what makes it to the number 1 spot, with Roy giving us 2 flavours, earning him extra points for his hard work. So that's my top 10. I hope you enjoyed the list. I noticed some commonalities in writing this that perhaps indicates what is missing in contemporary movie posters for me. Firstly, a limited colour palette. Not only does the use of a few bold contrasting colours make a poster really pop, It harks back to an even older period of poster making, when each layer was individually screen printed. Secondly, featuring illustrated figures rather than photography. Posters are as much art as they are advertising, and an incredible rendering can really draw the eye. It shows real care and attention being paid to how a movie is conveyed to an audience. And finally, a poster that tells that story, rather than a Photoshop posathon of the movie's stars, giving the audience a feeling about what the movie is about. Who you should trust and who you should fear means your audience is really invested in a movie's outcome and gives us something to anticipate. Very few people are sold on a movie just because of who it stars. If you are interested in getting any of these posters, you can find a link below to their website. Coming up on the channel, we have a retrospective on Jackie Chan's Operation Condor, and a top 10 on the greatest action scores from the 80s and 90s, as voted by my viewers.